Hello and welcome to the first episode of Moonee Valley Voices, the podcast dedicating to shining a light on the Moonee Valley community and the great people within it. This is episode 1. If you're interested in learning a bit more about this project, we've recorded a trailer. We've published that as episode 0, and that will tell you a little bit more about the podcast and the project and what you can expect from the show. So without further ado, we'll jump into episode 1. I'm delighted to be joined by Hamish Jones, our very first guest. Hamish has over 20 years of experience helping businesses and individuals boost their productivity and connect with their local community through digital transformation, AI integration and automation. He is the founder and director of Best Business Deals and the CEO of Moonee Valley Technology Centre. Hamish is also running for local council elections in 2024 and is deeply passionate about community building. So, Hamish, quite the CV there. Welcome to the show. And thanks for being a guinea pig, as always.
Thanks for having me, Matt. It's good to be here and it's always fun to chat about business and Moonee Valley.
Yeah, so I guess we should probably start by noting that I think that really the inspiration for this podcast, I think, came from some posts you'd made in sort of local groups. And it was a project that you sort of had in mind. At the same time, I was sort of putting this studio together, and we've talked about it for a while. So I thought episode 1 could only really have one guest. So great to have you on board. So I guess on that point, you know, we've spoken offline a little bit about community building and Moonee Valley. You know, why did a project like this sort of interest you? What you know, obviously this was something you were hoping to do as well. So why did you think this was an important format?
I think you know, podcast is an incredibly valuable platform, and it's a platform that's growing. People you know, are listening to podcasts more than they're listening to the radio. They're listening to and they want to connect with stories. And I think that was something that Moonee Valley was lacking. I think there was a strong need for it. So it was something that I sort of had an interest in, but I knew you were building the studio, so it wasn't necessarily something I had to do myself. It was just something I wanted to see. And if no one else was doing it, I thought, well, you know, I'll stick my hand up. But as you mentioned, I am doing a lot of different things, both business-wise and personally, so it wasn't a project that I could run with. So I was just happy to see that someone stuck their hand up and said, yeah, I've got the equipment, I've got the place to do it, and I'm ready to jump on board. So happy to get behind it, happy to be your first guest, and you know, happy to help give you a platform to make sure people know that it's out there and start listening to it as well.
Nah, fantastic. Well, we'll start with, I guess, exploring, your connection with Moonee Valley. So you've pretty much lived and worked here your whole life. I mean, what do you love about the valley?
Yeah, you're right. I haven't moved very far at all. I grew up in Ascot Vale, went to school at Flemington Primary School. Before that, it was Ascot Vale Kindergarten. Went to Essendon Grammar for high school. Met a girl from Strathmore, moved to Strathmore, live in Strathmore now, have run a business locally. Our first office was in East Keilor. We're now in Keilor Road in Niddrie after going from East Keilor to Essendon Fields to Essendon North, and now where we currently are on Keilor Road. So, yeah, I haven't gone very far, but I mean, I'm not the only one. You yourself are a Moonee Valley boy. You went to school locally as well, and you moved away for a while, but you came back. So, yeah, it's just a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to raise a family.
Yeah, how do you think, you know, the Moonee Valley community, the city itself, has sort of influenced you in terms of what you look to achieve in your business and in the communities that you sort of seek to build within the city?
I think it is a great community, and it has everything that you need. Like there are. You know, there's different cultural hubs. I think that Moonee Ponds has a different vibe to Niddrie. Niddrie has a different vibe to Strathmore, but they all sort of mesh together, and it is a great community. People still talk to their neighbours. People still get along with their neighbours here, and I don't think you necessarily get that in other places. But there are also business hubs. There are great places to run a business from, and businesses do want to do work together. So I think it makes sense. And, you know, we have some great schools in the area as well. On top of that, we are ideally located, like we're close to the airport without being too close. We're close to the city, and we've got great freeway access. So if you do need to get around, it's ideally located for that as well.
Yeah, that's always great. You mentioned you're a Pegs boy. That's something that we share in common. What are your memories of the school, you know, when you're in high school?
Oh, look, you know, I was involved a lot in music and had a great music program there. The teachers were great, the friends were great, the facilities were great. Having said that, my son's now going to Pegs now. They've spent a lot more money in the meantime since we left school, so they're only getting better. It was just a great experience for me, and thankful that my parents were able to send me there, and I had the opportunity to go there.
Yeah, I often joke with mum and dad. My sister's like 13 years younger than me, so I joke that they had her so that they could reap the benefits of all the fees they paid for my schooling there with her schooling, because obviously chalk and cheese, her middle school years were spent at the East Keilor campus, so she got to benefit from all that sort of stuff. Even the sporting fields are great now as well. So, obviously, a lot of changes at that particular school. You've mentioned you've got a strong passion for community building. So how does that sort of influence, I guess, the way that you go about, marketing your business and, connecting with other business owners in the community?
Yeah, so the core part of my business is selling telecommunications products. So some of our key competitors are companies like Telstra and Optus. We also buy wholesale off them, so they're competitors and suppliers at the same time. We don't have an $80 million above-the-line marketing budget to do billboards and TV ads and inserts and things like that. So it has been networking and referrals that has helped me grow my business over the last 20 years. Community happens online, it happens offline. Moonee Valley's great. Like, I'm involved in Rotary, I'm involved in other things, volunteering. You just see the community coming together to achieve different things, whether it's the local sustainability group planting trees, or whether it is, Rotary getting together and project, the men's shed, allowing people to get together and create a community around either building their own small projects or supporting other community groups by building stuff for them. It's just a great way to achieve things. And I think it, especially going into COVID and coming out of COVID, the importance of that local community was only heightened. I know you're involved a lot in local sport. The local sporting clubs are an important part of that community as well. So for me, it's just seeing people connected and seeing people working together is great for people personally, but also the community as a whole. And it works for my business to be parts of those communities and, occasionally let people know exactly what it is that I do and how I can help them as well. And it's worked both ways. It just feels nice to be part of the community, but it's also helped me professionally to grow my business.
Fantastic. So the business itself, best business deals, and then obviously you've got that Moonee Valley Technology Centre stuff as well. What obviously tech is a big part of your business. Has that always been an area of interest for you? What was the sort of genesis of that business?
Funnily enough, I didn't actually study anything to do with technology. Like yourself, I'm a qualified journalist. I never actually worked in journalism, but I studied public relations in my first degree at uni, so professional writing and journalism as parts of that. But I guess the interest in technology came early. I've always enjoyed toys. Towards the end of my master's degree, I actually wrote a thesis on Facebook and particularly Facebook community groups and how they could be used to connect people. So this was way back in 2010, before a lot of people were even talking about Facebook and community groups. I also delivered a lecture to undergraduate students inside the metaverse. I don't know if you remember the game Second Life, but it's still here now apparently. But so I was my own avatar delivering a lecture to other students who'd created their own avatar about how it was the future. Hasn't quite panned out the way it was, but if I'd stayed in that industry, I probably would have got a lot of VC money a few years ago when people started talking about the metaverse again. Unfortunately, I went in another direction, but that's okay. I'm still happy for everyone that did take advantage of that. I think, but technology underpins everything we do, and especially with tools like AI. I don't think I've, at first it was smartphones. People got excited about smartphones. BlackBerry came in first. Businesses loved that. They really jumped on board. But then when the iPhone came out, it took it that next level and transferred it to consumers as well. Like when I started in business 20 years ago, I could never have imagined us ordering a car from a phone and having it turn up at your doorstep and taking it to wherever you wanted to, theoretically without even having to talk to the person that was driving you there. Like this wasn't something I could envisage then, but then you see it and then you sort of imagine going forward. ChatGPT is probably, and that sort of generative AI is the new one that I see having as bigger impact on businesses, and just the uptake of that has been phenomenal when you compare it to other tools that have come through, just how it went from 0 to 1 million users in less than a week. You haven't seen with any other tools in recent time, and just people being creative and using it in different ways to be more productive so they can spend more time with their families and do other things as well.
Yeah, I guess your career has really spanned an incredible time where, you know, it's just the technology's developed at an exponential rate. You know, if you think of, you know, what you were talking about, you know, smartphones slowly coming into play. I mean, even the internet sort of slowly before that. What's your sort of prediction on you know, the growth of this stuff in that exponential sense? Like, you've seen so much growth in such a short space of time. What are you sort of predicting for the next, I don't know, 5 years or 10 years? 10 years seems like an eternity at the moment, just in terms of what's possible. But
look, I honestly couldn't predict 10 years ahead. Like, my son's 8 now; he's in grade 2.
Yeah.
My wife keeps asking me, "What do you think he's going to be doing at university?" I'm like, I don't think he's going to go to university. I think he will continue to learn, but I don't think a traditional university model can fit into the way technology is changing. I don't think the job that he will end up doing exists now, I mean, who would have thought that the idea of 2 years after ChatGPT came out, there'd be jobs called prompt engineer that get paid high six figures just to get better results out of ChatGPT than others. Like, things just come out of nowhere, and I think that's just going to continue to evolve in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, even watching my own kids, you know, I've got twin girls, and the other day, I have a Google phone, so they've put all the you know, their Gemini, their ChatGPT version onto all the phones. I'd left the room and I heard one of the girls asking the Gemini. I didn't realize at the time, but they were asking. They call it Ugin. They don't know how to say Google yet. But they go, Ugin, why is the sky blue? And like, they started, and it was just interesting seeing, you know, the kids who have never really been introduced to this tech. But they were able to just converse with it almost naturally. It was a little bit scary in some ways, but just how easily they adopted that. And it was just so easy for them to use it. It's incredible to think of the applications they might have in the coming years.
Yeah, we let our son use an iPad occasionally, and he has taken to getting up earlier in the morning than us to try and use it a bit more. Thankfully, it's only got a certain amount of time a day. But some of the stuff he'll do on that, like just naturally having voice conversations with an iPad that we would never have thought of a few years ago. It just becomes naturally, and like just opening up an app and starting to use it with no fear. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you've got to, you know, harness that creativity and creative way of using things, but at the same time, teach kids to use it safely, because obviously there are some downsides to some of the technology 100%. Out there. You just got to make sure that you know, they're not afraid to come to you if they're worried about something, or just you know, if they've got questions, but let them explore their creativity as well in a safe way.
Fantastic. So if we take this conversation, I guess, back to business in this sense, so where are the challenges, or conversely the opportunities that you see in this space for local businesses in particular?
Look, I think there are risks that businesses need to take on board, and a lot of that's around security and risk management. Absolutely. So, you know, data protection's an important thing. You shouldn't necessarily just upload proprietary data to a language learning model like ChatGPT or Google's Gemini, because you know, that could have massive implications for the privacy of your customers and the privacy of that data. It also so you need to create policies around using these documents for your organisation specifically. You know, and they should be written down so staff know that they can use it and they can use it safely. But you should let your staff embrace it at the same time, because the productivity gains, even if it's as simple as you know, not to discredit marketers, and of course you need to change what comes out of it, but using it to prompt ideas for creativity and do some market research, because ChatGPT does have access to all of the world's information. Like, you can go in to ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT just as a name. Obviously, there's all the other ones out there, and they're all similar. But you can ask it demographic information about Moonee Valley or a suburb of Moonee Valley, and it will search the internet. It will go to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, but also a lot of other websites that collect this data, and it will give you information on how many people live in a suburb, how many houses there are, how many businesses there are, what industries they're in, and collate that in a way that you want it to collate it. So it'll save you a massive amount of time.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that with caution, you should still go and check and verify, but at least like you can format it and put it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document for you. So you don't have to do any of the formatting stuff. You just got to go and verify the information after the fact. So you've saved hours of time, which means that you can be more productive in business, grow your business. And if you work for yourself, it gives you more time to spend with your family because that hours of data entry becomes half an hour to an hour, and then you've got more time at the end of the day.
Yeah, I find that even from a creative point of view, it's a great sort of sparring partner, for lack of a better word. Even if I'm creating content for my own business, I'll often get like ChatGPT to interview me. We'll have a topic. I'm, like you used to be a journalist. So I'm normally the one asking questions, or when I'm working with clients, I'm doing a lot of the asking questions. But when you're working on yourself, there's no one to ask you questions or prompt you to think, differently about a certain topic. So I found a really good use case for it is to actually get it to interview yourself and actually ask you questions that make you think about a chosen topic that might take your next article or your next video in a completely different direction that you wouldn't have thought of by yourself. I think that's another underrated use cases as well. Obviously, you do a lot of work in digital transformation. So the businesses and the small and medium-sized businesses that you're working with, what's the sort of, I guess, direction that you're helping them take with respect to not just this AI technology, but, the digital transformation of their business in general?
Well, so my usual client is a business owner that has 5 to 50 staff, so they're often the only decision maker in the business. So they're overworked and they're still trying to do a lot of things because they haven't necessarily got to a level where they can bring in some staff yet. So some of it's for the team, some of it's for the individual. From a team perspective, it can be small things. It's amazing how many businesses don't have a naming convention for files that they're saving in the cloud. So they're not necessarily saving it they don't have a process for where they save documents, how they name those files to make it easier for other people to file later on. So for some, it's as simple as coming up with a documented process and actually making sure they implement it to save time because they often think, it's all too hard, I'll worry about that later. It's just going to take more time instead of spending those hours now to save many more hours later on. It could be as simple as learning how to use some of the features of their email inbox to manage their inbox properly, creating some template emails and where to save them in their email inbox. Like they're paying for Office 365 or they're paying for Google Workspaces and just not using the tools that's already there. So it's not always even bringing in new tools. Oftentimes it's just using what they've got better. Conversely, at the other end, for an organisation, it can be simple things like we had a client that has offices in Sydney and Melbourne, but they had a receptionist, not a front door receptionist, just answering phones receptionist in each location. But cloud technology now, cloud phone systems means that you might have a Sydney phone number, but there's nothing to stop you answering it in Melbourne. So now they've got one staff member answering all of the calls because they weren't overburdened with calls. They just needed someone to answer the calls.
Yeah.
And the other staff member has been reassigned. So they were looking for a new role, but they could then, by using the technology better, reassign someone. So that's saving them $70,000, $80,000 a year in hiring a new staff member just by using their technology better. So that's one of my favourite stories, to be able to say that. It's like we're not sacking someone, we're giving someone a different role in the organisation, but it's helping the organisation overall significantly.
Yeah.
So it's just about often it's about thinking the technology you've got and using it better. But sometimes it's in integrating new technology like project management software and stuff, if that's going to help them as well. Conversely, for individuals, sometimes it's personal productivity. I've had conversations with people where the best solution to them was actually to buy a robot vacuum cleaner because they were doing their own chores. And, that's technology. That's almost an AI tool, that machine learning stuff. So it's like, why are you vacuuming your own floor? You don't want to get a cleaner in. Get a robot vacuum cleaner and set it up to do it certain times a day, and it saved them a lot of time and hassle. Yes, they spent $1,000 on a vacuum cleaner, but going forward, that's a couple of hours a week that they get to do something else that's much more fun for them.
So digital transformation, literally from the ground
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
I love it. That's great. Now, also another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Your plan. You're planning on running in council elections.
I am, yes.
In the upcoming election. What inspires you to sort of do that, and what sort of change are you looking to, I guess, implement in the Moonee Valley?
It's not so much change. Like, I've spent my entire life here, so obviously I'm passionate about it, and there are a lot of great things about Moonee Valley. There are some that could be improved, and I figure if I'm going to be involved in the community, I guess I look at local council. Yeah, I have this conversation with people. I say it's the most important level of government, and most people laugh at me when I say that. But in a lot of ways, it does have the biggest impact on people, even if they don't think about it. Like, if your rubbish is not collected, you notice it. If there are potholes on most of the roads in Moonee Valley, that's a council responsibility. Yes, some of the major thoroughfares, Mount Road, Buller Road, Keeler Road, yes, they're Vic Road's responsibilities, but all the side streets, the streets we live on, that's council responsibility. So if there's a pothole and your wheel gets damaged, that's a council responsibility. Footpaths are a council responsibility. A lot of things, the sporting ovals are council responsibility. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about sporting ovals. That's a topic for another
that's its own episode.
Podcast. But I think just for me, it's there's sort of three key areas I think that make Moonee Valley a great place to live, and that's our open spaces. So that includes sporting ovals, but also the parks, whether it's Woodlands Park, whether it's Boeing Reserve, whether it's our side of the Maribyrnong River, Queen's Park. They're all wonderful spaces, and I think we need to protect and enhance them and make sure that, and the sporting ovals will make sure that they're are protected, but also enhanced. We don't have enough sporting ovals, and I know we can't necessarily get more, but the sporting ovals we have, we need to utilise them better, and that includes planting the right grass to make sure it's able to actually be used all year round and used by all the sporting clubs. It's looking at what is missing and what is needed, and I've become more. My eyes have been open more about this with basketball in particular, because my son started playing basketball. There's
no stadium.
There's no stadium in Moonee Valley, and there's no real appetite from council to build a stadium. Now, I know I'm not saying it's easy, but you've got to, if you want to do it, you've got to make the commitment to do it and then find the way to do it, as opposed to just throwing your hands up at the end and saying, "Oh, we tried," when they did some sort of strategic plan that actually goes nowhere. The council is full of strategic plans and master plans. Boeing Reserve near me is one example. They did a master plan 10 years ago, but no money has actually been allocated to anything in that master plan going forward. Yes, there was a lot of money spent on the Chris Lane Memorial Field, and that was tragic circumstances what happened to Chris in America, and it's a great stadium. A lot of that was funded from outside council though, so council hasn't necessarily budgeted for the growth of all these master plans they're spending money on. So I think if we can look at ways to streamline strategic planning, look at where all the budget is going, I think that that allows us to put money in those open spaces. Similarly for small businesses, I think we have a lot of great small business hubs, and a lot of them have their traders associations. But I look at even small things in surrounding areas. Brimbank has quarterly networking breakfasts that Moonee Valley is not really running. Most of the other local councils surrounding us have yearly business awards that we don't have in Moonee Valley. So just small things like that to better recognise and reward and acknowledge the work of our local business, I think, are not necessarily particularly costly, but would have a big impact on growing the small business around us as well.
Yeah. All right. So in line with that, if there was one thing you'd improve, one thing you think council does really well, what would those two? If you could just fix one thing overnight, what would it be? I'll leave. Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, if I could fix one thing overnight, it'd be parking in side streets. But I can't fix that overnight, unfortunately. I think that's actually the biggest issue that council is going to have going forward. The balancing their own planning with the imposition of the state government that has identified areas of Moonee Valley that are going to have massive development over the coming years to make sure that they have adequate parking, but also adequate facilities. Like this is, I live in Strathmore, but I'm also the president of the Niddrie Traders Association, and they're looking at a library development, redeveloping the Niddrie Library in that area, which is much needed. One, because the library's already too small, but Niddrie has also been identified by the state government as an activity centre with massive growth expected. So they need to protect parking because, let's face it, a lot of the developments that go up don't have enough parking as it is, and protect amenity, not just for the current residents that are there, but those that are going to be moving into all these new properties that are going to be built.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing you think council is doing well and that you'd like to see maintained?
Oh, don't get me wrong. You look at this council compared to a lot of other councils surrounding us and across the state. There's a lot that this council does well. Like, I don't want to be critical of the economic development department of council. They do a lot of good work. They do support the traders associations. They do run a massive women in business luncheon each year, and there is support there if you go and ask for it. I just think that could be a little bit more proactive. I think that our current crop of councillors are also very approachable. If you reach out to them, they will talk to you. Like staff, and staff as well. You can contact staff. It's not that they're not doing their best. I just think that there's room for improvement more than necessarily wanting to rap anyone on the knuckles and say they're doing it wrong.
No, very good. All right. So I've got this Valley Faves 10 quickfire questions we'll run through with everyone, and maybe in line with your thinking, after maybe at the end of the year, I'll tally up which of these get the most votes, and maybe we can do a little award. Yeah. So, favourite local restaurant.
Favourite local restaurant? I actually really like Cowsand Road, so on Mount Alexander Road in Moonee Ponds. I love Thai, and I think that's one of the best Thai restaurants in the area.
Yep. Favourite suburb in Moonee Valley?
Oh, well, Strathmore, obviously. Yeah. That's where I live now, and it's an area I'm passionate about, so I'm going to stick with Strathmore. Yep.
Do you have a favourite local sports club?
Oh, well, look, I'm an Essendon fan, but I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that anymore, given that Essendon trains at Tullamarine, but I am also a member of the Strathmore Bowls Club, so that's something I'm passionate about. But, I've been down to watch the Royals play. I've watched Split play on the weekend as well. So, two big soccer clubs in the area. I've watched the Strathmore Footy Club play. There's so many great clubs in our area and so many strong clubs. It's and that's why I think sport is something that we need to sort of focus on in Moonee Valley. It's something that we do really well.
Yeah, I'm a bit newer to Strathmore than you, obviously. And since I've moved in, that, Strathmore Footy Club's ground's been closed for redevelopment. I think last weekend was the first one it opened up, and oh my God, there were just people everywhere. Trying to get to Paco Road was a bit of a battle, but good to see that facility up and running, and obviously people flocking back there. All right, favourite place in the Moonee Valley to relax?
I really like the new Palace Cinemas complex in Parkle Street at Penny Lane. I love watching movies, and it's good to see something in Moonee Valley that is easy to get to, and then obviously a coffee at Brunetti either before or afterwards.
Or both. Favourite local event?
Favourite local event? Moonee Valley Festival. I'm glad they brought that back. I think it's just a great time to get a lot of the community together, sporting clubs, businesses that participate in it, but also, seeing the kids perform and all those sorts of things as well, and whatever they're doing, it's just nice and
Nah, too easy. Favourite local shop?
I'd really like a couple of our local gift shops. So there's one on Keilor Road called Everleigh Woods that has a huge range of gifts, and also Lardy Dar is one on Mount Alexander Road in North Essendon there, up near the roundabout.
Yep. Favourite outdoor activity to do in Moonee Valley?
I play lawn bowls. I also like getting down to Riverside and either getting on the driving range or playing a quick 9 holes there. I think it's an underappreciated golf course. It's only 9 holes, but it's also short. So if you want to get a quick round in, it's always a great place to go. Yep.
Best coffee in Moonee Valley, or at least your favourite cup?
I really miss Nabiha. So that was actually a small little off. It was on Hall Street, but that's long closed. Now I would probably say my most often go-to is probably Buddy Espresso on Lloyd Street in Moonee Ponds, and also Lloyd Street deli a couple of doors down there does a great
Yeah.
coffee as well, and Carve up the other side of the
Yep.
freeway. So Strathmore does some really good coffee.
Yeah, there's lots of options. Your favourite local park?
Probably Woodlands Park. I like just the green space,
Yeah.
the lake there. Also, it's got the play equipment that caters to different ages, and it's also got the exercise equipment there as well.
Yep. And then finally, your favourite hidden gem in Moonee Valley?
I really like the Clock Tower Centre. I think if you actually pay attention to what's going on there, there's a lot of theatre,
Yep.
a lot of comedy. I mean, Arj Barker, so they get some big names there as well.
They do.
We've taken Angus to see the Wiggles there many years ago. But also nighttime events, daytime events, kids, all ages. There's something to do there often if people just make the effort to go and have a look.
All right. Well, Hamish, thank you very much for joining me today and being our first guest. For those watching and listening, how can people find you? Do you have any events coming up that people should know about?
The best place to find me is probably on any of your social media platforms. If you just look for @Hamish Jones, all one word, that's usually the name I've got across all of them. LinkedIn's probably the best, but connect with me on there and say hello.
Or if you're in the Strathmore Facebook community group.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yes. If you live in Strathmore, join that group and you'll see me posting there a lot as well.
Maybe just plug the different business networks you're a part of. Obviously, we've both just recently joined the local Essendon BNI that's just started up, BNI Unite. But I know you have some local community groups as well that you look after.
Other than the Strathmore community Facebook page, if you live in Strathmore, if you're not already on there, the Moonee Valley Business Showcase. There's currently 1,200 members on that. I'm looking to get that up to about 2,000 by the end of the year. So if you're a local business owner or just like supporting local business, jump on board and come and get involved there.
All right, well, a big thank you to Hamish once again. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast if you're keen to keep hearing more great local stories. My name's Matt, and this has been episode 1 of Moonee Valley Voices. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.